The following program may contain scenes that may be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
This is your marketplace. Families on a mission.
This needs to change. It's totally unacceptable.
To uncover the truth.
Nobody was there to help her.
And we get hired to see what it's really like inside. Are staff set up to fail?
I would not want to be the one in the bed in the state that long-term care is in right now.
Minister Elliott, I'm David with CBC. How do you address the concerns that these frontline workers have?
We take their concerns very seriously.
A special edition of Your Marketplace, how to fight for better care. Listen carefully. The call for help is faint but desperate. In the darkness at this long-term care home, an 84-year-old grandmother struggles to breathe. At home, her daughter Marie had been told staff were checking her mom throughout the night. The breathing gets weaker and then stops.
She's gone. Nobody there to help her. She died alone, struggling. Nobody was there. But
you're left wondering if they could have saved her.
Oh, I think they could have.
For years, we've heard your concerns. What happens to our parents and grandparents when we're not there? Are there enough staff to keep them safe? To find out, we're going deep inside long-term care.
Hi there. Good morning.
Sending a marketplace producer to volunteer, spending more than 60 hours undercover at Markhaven, the same home where Marie's mother died.
Here's the Recreation Office and Volunteer Center.
Okay.
We're taking care to respect residents' privacy, focusing on common areas. And it doesn't take long to see staff who try, but are simply outnumbered.
5 minutes. I don't have 2 minutes.
Yeah.
One.
Nobody have started in any long term.
No.
Sometimes I look at it as a conveyor belt.
Oh, you have to go to the bathroom? Yeah. Okay, I'll let them know, okay?
Elderly residents waiting for help to use the toilet.
Sorry, he needs to use the washroom. Do you know if there's anyone that could take to the washroom?
Staff just trying to keep up, racing from person to person.
Oh, help me.
Okay, so she can't go. But she's been waiting to use the washroom for like an hour.
This is one home, but we're hearing similar stories nationwide.
Our undercover producer you see her roaming the hallways, trying to find someone who's just available to help with this.
That's normal. Absolutely.
Miranda Ferrier represents more than 30,000 personal support workers, or PSWs, in Ontario.
How do you use the word normal to describe someone waiting for more than an hour to go to the washroom and there not being someone to help them?
It's been accepted as the norm. Should it be? Absolutely not. It should not be accepted as the norm.
I'm coming there. I'll be right there.
Unanswered call bells. Barely time for the basics.
In the morning when we go in, we should be able to go in and wash them from head to toe, from there down.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
No.
They get their face, underarms, hands, and everything done.
That's it.
By one estimate, Ontario staff only get 6 minutes to get each increasingly frail resident out of bed, dressed, and down for breakfast.
Like in the 70s.
Really?
We don't want it that way, but that's the way you have to do it.
Let me know when you look now, all right?
Staff who want to do better, but there just isn't time.
A lot of times in long-term care, 9 times out of 10, you're skipping steps. Whereas that might be that day you don't wash under their armpits and you don't wash their nether regions. Or, you don't change their incontinence product real quick because it's not that wet yet, because you don't have the time.
So just let them sit in it?
You just let them sit in it until it's full, because you don't have the time.
It's not just a problem at one home. A year ago, at another Ontario home, we caught this conversation on hidden camera. These PSWs are talking to a government inspector. She's powerless because there is no minimum staffing ratio for nursing homes. And when there aren't enough staff, the worst becomes possible.
You are a daughter, and you are listening to what sound like her final breaths.
Yep. Not easy to take. Sorry.
No.
I wasn't there to help. Nobody was there to help her. I think that's the biggest part of it.
Giovanna's death happened right after the home's funding was cut by the province, forcing it to lay off a night nurse. Marie's mother died alone in a home where staff seemed always stretched, and at night numbers dropped, sometimes just one PSW for a wing of 27 residents.
She loved to be with her grandkids. She laughed a lot. She told a lot of funny stories, fake stories to my kids. She'd get them going. She was really funny. She had a good sense of humor, really good sense of humor.
Worried for months about her mother's care, Marie decides to install a hidden camera in her room.
I wasn't going to be able to see her a lot the month of May. I had eye surgery.
Giovanna needed a tracheostomy to breathe, a tube bringing air to her throat. In case of a problem, the home's own care plan demanded a call bell within reach.
Whenever she wasn't well, she always held on to that call bell to get help.
On the night she died, though, Marie wonders, were staff too busy to check, too overloaded to notice the gasp for help?
Mom was gone. And I believe in all heart that the cause of her death was due to lack of experience, staffing not knowing what they're doing, training, not enough staff.
What do you want the ministry to change?
There should be legislation that has to have more people to take care of our loved ones, more nursing staff, more PSWs on the floor.
We showed the video to Miranda, and together we noticed something alarming.
She was seemingly partially out of the bed, trying to reach here.
Oh my God, where the call bell was. They left the call bell on the chair. They left the call bell on the chair. Oh, sorry.
That call bell, the one required to be in the bed with Giovanna. Even as she struggled, she couldn't reach it.
No one should have to suffer like that. I mean, and the problem is that they're all suffering like this.
Suffering that Marie didn't know about until months later when she watched the video. Staff were supposed to check on Giovanna throughout the night, but no one did until morning.
If she was able to get help the morning that she passed, she would have probably been alive.
Workers discover her body half out of bed. Marie believes she was trying to reach that call bell, the one that might have saved her.
And this is them moving her body. Well, if her feet were down dangling, she was trying to get help. She was trying to get up and get to her bell.
To get help.
To get help.
For 2 years, we've been investigating long-term care homes in Ontario. Now, we're deep undercover in one home, spending days inside, hearing the consequences of short staffing.
She's been waiting to use the washroom for like an hour.
We've heard the same story from across Canada, including here in Hare Bay, Newfoundland, where Sharon Golding Collins has a plan to fight for elderly residents like her mother, who has dementia and lives in a nursing home 45 minutes away.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. What you doing? Mom. Mom. Are you gonna have a nap? Are you gonna have a nap?
Sharon?
Come and get me, Chris. Come and get me. Come and get me.
Sharon is now a stranger to the woman who spends her days calling for her own parents.
Mom.
Yeah.
Come up with her mom. Sit down. We're not going home. We're not going home.
It's amazing. She's just so strong. And then for this to happen?
There have never been more dementia residents like Lillian in long-term care, a growing number with very high needs and unpredictability. Sometimes other dementia patients become aggressive, and there have been altercations that have left Lillian bruised. No staff there to help.
There's so many other things that have happened that nobody's seen, like the bruises on her, from here to here, like the scratches and cuts on her face, like being punched in the mouth.
But there was nobody there when it happened. Nobody there to stop it.
Nobody.
Sharon is usually at home when she hears about a new injury, an attack from a fellow dementia resident.
This can't go on. This is an 82-year-old woman who's getting beaten up. And the response was, and it wasn't the first time, I'm sorry, but we can't be everywhere all the time.
Why do you think that is? Why can't they be there when their residents are being attacked by others?
Because there's not enough staff. There's only so much that they can do.
Even though the Regional Health Authority says they are fully staffed, they acknowledge dementia patients can be combative, so there are safety plans in place. 300 kilometers away in St. John's, Heather Reardon faces that on every shift.
Hi, Heather.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm David.
On the night shift, when staff numbers drop, she's the only registered nurse in charge of 140 patients.
Now, I wish I could split myself in half because I could be needed upstairs because someone's had a fall, or I could have somebody in respiratory distress down on another unit, and both are unstable and both need a registered nurse. But there's only one of me. The quality of care is not there. Simple day-to-day things aren't getting done. They might only have time, they may have to leave them in bed. They may be left in bed for the full shift rather than being up for several hours because we just don't physically have the manpower.
Fast forward your own life 50, 60 years. Would you want to be in a long-term care facility, the kind that you work in right now?
In the state it's in now, absolutely not. I would not want to be the one in the bed in the state that long-term care is in right now.
If nurses say they're stretched, imagine personal support workers, the frontline staff, those who wash, care, feed, lift, and keep safe the elderly. Undercover, we're seeing it, and hearing PSWs so burnt out, they're quitting.
I go home here most days with a headache. I'm confused because you're thinking, did I do that? Did I do that?
Yeah, that's stressful.
That's why I'm retiring. I don't want to die.
It's not just the stress that's wearing on staff across the country. They're often on the receiving end of violence.
It's hard to make out, but you can see down the hallway that a resident is kicking one of the staff members. How often do you hear about violent incidents against staff?
Every single day. So much so that it's actually become the norm.
That violence against staff is the norm?
Yep.
Why would you want to work there?
My point exactly. That's why we're short-staffed. That's why the PSW profession is not necessarily one that people are, lining up to get into, is because, the really sad thing, David, is when you sit with PSWs or you're in a room full of them, when I am many times with my members, and they'll say, well, who got scratched today? And it's a joke. Or who got bit today? Or,
For its part, Markhaven didn't want to do an interview, but tells us they provide a safe and comfortable working environment. They agree that more staff are needed and say they provide the best care possible with the money they get from the government. Back in Hare Bay, Sharon is fighting for change, angered by her mother's injuries and no one being around to stop them.
This needs to change. It's totally unacceptable. So that's when I created the group, the Facebook group.
Her online community now has about 5,000 members from across Canada calling for legislative action, a campaign Sharon names after her mother.
What is it that Lillians Law, what you're proposing, is calling for?
The initial thing is the ratio. As there is a law for daycare, where you have a ratio of caregivers to children, we want the same for long-term care residents, for people who can't care for themselves.
Every day, she hears stories of residents left for hours without help. And then the extremes. A woman left in bed with a broken hip. The doctor not called until morning.
What do they say? What sits with you?
It's the same thing. And what's happened to my mother, there's so many more extremes, so many more things that have happened that should never have happened and are worse.
Across the country, staff shortages in long-term care are making headlines. In Quebec, the Ombudsman says nursing homes are a disgrace.
The conditions that the staff work in are not acceptable.
Staff can barely keep up. And in Ontario,
Will you stand with us and keep fighting until seniors get the dignity they deserve?
a call for more staff in long-term care.
The seniors help us build cities, build our province, and build our country.
Supported by the provincial Conservatives. Then, Doug Ford won power.
Today we're announcing 15,000 new long-term care beds in the next 5 years.
Now he's promising more room for seniors in long-term care.
30,000 new beds in 10 years.
But with a staffing crisis right now, who's going to take care of the people in those beds? After 2 years of investigating long-term care homes, we're seeing the impacts of short staffing.
So what's the solution then?
The solution is more staff. We need more staff. We need more funding.
You need more funding.
Yeah.
We're showing our hidden camera video to Candace Chartier, CEO of the Ontario Long-Term Care Association, which represents most homes in the province.
Well, we're asking the government for $100 million a year for the next 4 years.
Do you think you'll get it?
I think that they're listening to us. I think that if they
Because in this province, this is a government intent on cutting costs.
It is, but it's also a government that's investing 15,000 beds of new long-term care beds. If we can't staff our current beds, and you want to put 15,000 more beds in the system, more staff has to happen.
Please hear me when I say, change is coming, help is on the way.
Ontario's new Premier Doug Ford campaigned on helping seniors. We want to speak to him, but his government has declined our interview requests for almost 8 weeks.
We're talking to the people on the front lines, be it the docs, the nurses, and other frontline healthcare workers.
So we're catching up with Doug Ford and his health minister unannounced.
Minister Elliott, I'm David with CBC. Could I just ask you a really quick question about long-term care?
Sure.
The issue is specifically around frontline workers. They are saying in long-term care that there simply aren't enough of them for the beds that exist right now. Your government is announcing even more beds. How do you address the concerns that frontline workers have around increasing resident-on-resident violence, about the fact that they in some cases have just 6 minutes to get even people with dementia who are incapacitated, to get them up and dressed and to the washroom, to get them washed and then get them to breakfast? How do you address the concerns that these frontline workers have?
We take their concerns very seriously, and what we are doing in the ministry right now is a human resource review of the what healthcare professionals we need in various healthcare settings.
Are you committed to listening to those frontline workers, people like personal support workers who form the real frontline?
Absolutely. That's who we want to hear from. We want to hear from frontline workers because we want to make sure that they feel safe in the work that they're doing and that they're able to do it in the best way, the way that they were trained to do it, and to make sure that all patients receive high quality care.
It is too late to help Marie's mom. She died after months of Marie sounding the alarm.
You've been warning of problems.
I've been warning them of problems.
Both the home and
the
ministry.
And they failed me.
When did the ministry finally respond to your concerns?
My report came in October.
But by October, your mother is gone.
Yes.
And remember, it was only after reviewing this video that Marie uncovered how her mom died. Her long-term care home, Markhaven, tells us they've now asked the Ontario Ministry of Health to review Giovanna's death. Meanwhile, in Newfoundland, Sharon is relentless in pushing for better care with mandatory staffing ratios.
Maybe if someone is passionate enough about this, that we can inspire others to do the same, to come together and be a strong voice for those who don't have a voice.
Who put that certainty, that strength into you as a person?
I think it was my mother. To do what you can, and if there's something that needs to be addressed and it's wrong, then it's wrong.
She's fighting for herself through you.
Yes, I guess so.
Do you have loved ones in long-term care? Share your story. Email us at marketplace@cbc.ca.